Hi, welcome to Overlooked. I'm Pooja Advani. My guest today is a co-founder and president of India's leading animal welfare organization called World for All Animal Care and Adoptions. He preaches and practices coexistence. He is Taronish Bulsara. Hi Taronish, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Pooja.
So tell me, how did World for All come about?
Well, World for All was actually came about 9 years ago when me and my partner, Ruchi Nadkarni, we would always do animal welfare work. We were always volunteering as animal lovers to help animals in and around our societies. It was this little puppy called Angel that we rescued back then, and she had to have her leg amputated. So once she had healed and she was ready to be released from the hospital, we realized that it's not a good option, not a good idea to keep such a small puppy back on the street, firstly. Secondly, her being handicapped, we said, okay, let's try to home her. And back then we realized there was no formal platform at all for adoptions. All of what we see in terms of the healthy and ethical practice of fostering, how these days having an Indian breed is not so uncommon. All of this has come about with the functioning of the organization, thankfully. But back then there was no platform, and Facebook also had just about created the buzz in the Indian market. Before that, the social media that people would use was Orkut.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we made a page.
Okay, so you started an Orkut.
We started a Facebook page.
Oh, you started a Facebook.
We started a Facebook page to get Angel adopted. This, what we did not, because there was no other platform, we suddenly had so many people asking for Indian breed puppies and kittens.
Right.
Seeing her, we had multiple options. And that's when we decided there is no platform. There are people looking, why not? That page that I spoke about is the same World for All page now that has lakhs of people, where there are so many animals getting adopted, such heavy duty animal work happening all the time. It all came about from this simple attempt to help this one puppy. We did not start in retrospect in terms of, researching and looking into what to do and having a 5-year, 10-year plan. No, we just, I think that happens with most animal lovers. First you rescue, first you pick up, and then you plan,
So I mean, you're talking about, earlier you said you were working and volunteering at other welfare organizations. So what were the kind of cases you were seeing back then? And have you seen a difference in cases now?
Yes. Actually, I do believe that back then the cases remain just the same. The number of dogs, at least, canines, I do canines and felines, I do. But the number of dogs are less, but the kind of cases remain the same. But back then there was less awareness. There were less people calling to help these animals, or they would be found in a condition that is much worse. Only then would people call. I think somewhere there has not so much I wouldn't say the last 10 years, but in the last 2 or 3 years, there is more of activism. More people have started, I think, practicing and hearing, spreading awareness, which has really resulted in more so people calling on our helpline or on any helpline for that matter, and getting assistance for any needy animal. So that way, yes, we do have cases in slightly better state now, but of course more calls but that's not a problem. It's never a problem to help more animals.
So have you seen the mentality of people change over time frame in terms of bringing an indie breed home as a pet compared to your stylized breeds that we have?
Yes. Not only have I seen the mentality of people change to be more accepting of the Indian breed, I do see that. And I think the entire animal welfare community is responsible for that. There's a lot on, and even the media, there's a lot of positive things about animals that people are posting, writing about these days. You know, so there is more awareness. People are more, but more so than just a difference between the breed of the animal they are adopting. I have also noticed that I have seen so many myself, personally, even family, friends, and things, who were not really quote unquote animal lovers or accepting of animals, have seeing the work that we do, seeing things happening around them, have become more accepting. I know of people who would not go near an animal simply because they did not enjoy it, or they were frightened, but now they have pets. So
what would be the key factor that you would say that this shift has actually happened in people?
I would think that this shift happens with people only when the reason that people are skeptical is because they don't know any better.
Right.
You know, so it is only the knowledge that then changes it, you know. Even if people have a certain, choice, the choice also comes with the with what you know and what you don't know, and what one understands and does not understand.
Right.
And I think somewhere we are somehow, the word is getting out. People are more, I'm not saying that everyone now suddenly loves all animals around them, but people are more accepting, more aware of the law, have a better sense of being ethical these days. I would think so. I think that there is a shift. While we do face horrid cases every day, that would, that could sort of contradict what I'm saying. I believe that this has always happened. This has always happened before. I do think that there's a shift towards positivity, definitely.
So, I mean, in just the last 7 to 10 years that I have started Doggy Dog World, and in terms of coming down to the fact that I somehow have seen the cases of mistreatment or abandonment or abuse on the rise. And coming to what you said, that there is a shift in people. So yes, somewhere that statement comes as a contradiction to me personally, because come for today morning's paper that came in, which said indie dog was beaten to death because of taking shelter from the rains and in a society. So don't you feel that the frustration, or maybe the how you say indie dog menace that people actually term it as, is and the fact that our laws are not supporting them, is letting people get away with a lot of things?
I definitely, I am with you in terms of the fact that the law needs to be strengthened to a great bit, and that apart from strengthening the law, it has to be something that is practiced and not something that's only on paper. Definitely so. Even so, I would think that because I've worked on this agenda for so long in terms of rescuing street animals, and while it still happens, and it's very sad, the amount of cruelty or the amount of neglect also, even if it's not a cruelty case, before they call someone and someone actually goes and picks the animal up and helps them. I think that there is more, apart from the fact that there is more awareness, what also happens is I feel like there are more services today. There are more animal taxis, there are more, while it will, considering the amount of roadies we have, it may never be enough to satisfy each one of them, like each one of their needs, like we would for our pets at home. Of course not. But I do think that there is more availability of help, and there are more people reaching out for the help that the voiceless need. So in terms of that, I feel there is a better direction of helping them. I'm not saying that there are necessarily less animals that are affected, but there's more so a chance and a way that people are adapting to in terms of helping them out. While that being said, yes, there is a rampant amount of suffering that happens because of cruelty. every day. I mean, whether you work with animals or not, as you said, it's in the paper, it's on social media, it's things you see on a daily basis, It's not about how brutal the action was. It's just about, I see so many little kids being walked to school, and their parents, instead of guiding them in the right way, are constantly, picking up pellets or stones and throwing at the dog, or making that indication, shoo, shoo, hut, hut. So this is what is then imbibed in the child. Because of this also, we run a program called Teach Coexist that, it's not so old, not so new. It's been around 3 years in existence, 2-3 years in existence now, where we go into schools and talk to people, because changing the child, of course, they're the future generation, but I think stuff like this, very honestly, works when it goes from the other way around, from child to parent,
Right.
Like they say, you teach a girl, you've taught a family.
Right.
In terms of these things, when it comes to compassion and all, it works the same when it comes to the child,
So when you're doing these education programs, what is the primary motive for these education programs, and what is it that we're trying to get out of them?
We're trying to imbibe or awaken compassion that is potentially existent in all children.
Right.
Yes, when you walk into a classroom or a group, a gathering of children or people for that matter, all 5 fingers are not the same. Some are scared, some are very anxious, some are so overwhelmed that they want to keep, say, if we have a pet, an animal who's there, they want to keep holding, not in the right way and things like that. But what happens is everyone is left with a sense of wanting to do something, wanting to help them, and if not, at least understanding that they have the rights that we have, that they need to be respected, that they need to be looked out for, and as superior species, we need to protect them. We've seen amazing results. We do teach coexist in corporates and things like that as well, but the student angle is always incredible. We've seen little children then coming up and doing these workshops to spread awareness or to raise funds or to get animals adopted, and we've also seen them trying to find homes, calling for help. So it's very, very motivating to see them doing more. And while you might look at it as, okay, one activity, one group of children, these are things that stay with someone as they grow. You're not going to turn, I think it's very rare that someone turns, or I don't think it happens at all, that someone who considers themselves an animal lover moves backwards, So when that is something that's imbibed, that stays with them.
Right. So you feel you do corporate workshops as well as workshops with schools.
Yeah.
And what's the major difference you see while you're talking to a bunch of adults to a bunch of children?
I find children, they come across as much more mature in terms of listening and being able to reason and not being stubborn about certain preemptions or perceptions they already have. There are lots of things I personally have learned on the job. I have never been, as an individual, I've never been, not to say that I've never been comfortable with children, but I've never been, I've never known how to deal with them until we were doing this, and I realized it's just so much easier than dealing with adults, Children also tend to reason more. So what happens is with an adult, when a dog has growled or barked at them, or maybe, in a worst case scenario, they have had a dog snap at them at some point, then for some reason they are worried that all dogs will attack them. I've seen this a lot. It doesn't happen with humans. I think most people have been abused, hit in some form or way by a human being, but they do not see a human being and start acting funny and running and scared. But that happens with dogs. Children don't think like that. When you tell them that this dog, every dog is an individual, yes, this must have happened, Something must have triggered it off. It does not mean you have to be scared of every animal. They understand so well, you know.
Yeah, I realized that. I had
Yeah.
seen that myself.
Yeah, so I have also, apart from, I have always had a connect with animals, but it helps me connect with a lot of people and children especially. I'm very impressed with the, not so much, I mean, of course, we are trying to do a lot of work to spread awareness with children, but also what they bring back to the table is so incredible.
Right. So, I mean, World for All does rescue and it also does adoptions, right?
Yes, and we do sterilization.
Sterilization drives
Yeah,
also.
and we have we have the shelter, probably Paradise, run by Roxanne.
Yes.
So we have a tie-up there, and that's kind of completes the cycle.
Right.
So when they can't be, when they are rescued, but they, for whatever reasons, do not or cannot get adopted,
Right.
and nor can they be put back on the street, then there's a place for them to go, and the puppies from there come out here, vice versa.
Right. So I was coming down to the whole rescue aspect of it. A lot of times people just see a puppy and then they just pick them up. And what would, according to you, be do's and don'ts of rescuing a puppy?
Thank you for bringing that up. That is very important. So I think when we started, I said this already, that as animal lovers, a lot of us have the idea of picking up the animal, rescuing them, and then making a plan.
Right.
And of course, there are a lot of animals in bad shape, and sometimes that needs to be done. But very often the animals that are picked up, the calls that we get when we vet the calls to see, because we simply cannot, and I don't believe anyone can, get each and every dog or cat around into a home. Okay? It's not happening, at least in the near future in our country. So we noticed that a lot of animals that are picked up are, you need to look whether there is, firstly, whether there is a mother nursing that animal. Because then you're not only taking away from, say that mother nursing the animal, you're also taking away from that animal's nutritional values and a lot of teachings. If you notice an infant animal that is rescued and then grows up in human care, it's much tougher to toilet train.
Right.
But the mother will always, when the puppies are nursing on them, they will move the puppy or the kitten away. So they know already. A lot of learning also comes from that. So apart from checking whether there's a mother safe, there can be animals with parents looking after them, but they are just not in safe territory,
Right.
But the ones we must look into are the ones that are in accident-prone area, the ones that are orphans, definitely, the ones that are maybe injured. But we must please, it is important that we do not go and pick up puppy and kitten because they look so cute, because they are, if they are in a park, in a gated park, please let them be. You can definitely take pictures, send them to us, put them on your own social media, other organizations, try to find homes, yes. But don't pick them up, because when you're picking them up, you're taking away from their chances then of being able to ever adjust in that situation if you can't provide a better situation for them. You cannot take the puppy home and then 8-10 days later say, I'm going to put the animal back. That animal, being a child, simply does not have the experience or expertise to then adjust and adapt.
Right.
And they will smell different from the litter. There's a strong chance they won't be accepted.
Right.
So that is very important, that we are fully sure before we rescue. And if we are unsure but feel concerned about the animals, there are things that we can do. We can...
What are the things that we can actually do?
Like I just said, take pictures, call your local organization, get them vaccinated, make sure the mother's sterilized on time, feed them, or if you cannot for whatever reasons, find an appropriate feeder. Every area has, animal activists, formal or informal animal activists and feeders that are happy to feed and help any animal in that locality. If you look around, if you ask around, people who work on the field, on the streets, if you ask your watchmen, drivers, shopkeepers, anyone who has a job or a business on the street, they will be able to tell you who feeds. There are always feeders. Talk to the feeders.
Right.
They might know, they always know, not might know, they always know more than we do about the animals in and around that area. So they may already have plans for them in many cases.
Right.
Sometimes they are also helpless and they are overwhelmed and they don't have, most of the cases. But just picking up an animal, taking them home, making an effort and then saying, oh, I can't do anything, and then you have to drop the animal back on the street is detrimental. Not only an individual, an organization like mine. Very honestly, if you call me about a litter of 6 puppies, it's very difficult in today's day and age to find 6 fosters immediately in a single day.
Right.
And then what do I do about the other 3 calls that have come today and the other 4 calls that come tomorrow? So yes, very often it is possible that, these numbers I spoke about, that 50% of them need to be picked up. But the other 50 would have been in a happy place. And by not picking them up, we would have also been able to help these other animals which needed to be picked up by putting them in those accommodations.
I want to move to your adoptions that happen. In terms of what I want to ask about it is your adopt-a-thons are something that happen about probably 2 times a year?
No. The Adopt-a-thon is a signature event. It's Asia's largest camp, happens once a year. We have little camps every month.
That happens every month.
Yeah.
I want to understand, you've been running these camps for a very long time. And what is the significant difference you've seen over the years?
There's more... of course, see, I'll tell you, I'd like to answer this by telling you of the first time we ever had Adopt-a-thon, right? Like I told you, I feel like this is a calling. This is not how I planned my life. I'm very happy the way it's turning out. But this is not, we had no plan when we started. And we worked backwards. Like I said, that's how we started the organization, even with the Adopt-a-thon. I remember me and my partner, we had some ardent volunteers back then. Some may not be with us still. We had put together this event and we looked out for a venue in Bandra, and that time it was the Bandra Hindu Association where we first did our camp, no? And I remember saying to my partner when it was just about starting, it's in all these newspapers and all, they've covered it, and we've got posters here and there, so 100 people will come, right? And we were hopeful 100. That time, see, we didn't know any different. 100 people will come. I think the first Adopt-a-thon had like 60, 70 animals. The first ever Adopt-a-thon. Now we do 200 over 2 days. But anyway, so...
Sorry, your Adopt-a-thon now runs over 2 days and you do about 200 over 2 days.
We have 200 animals up for adoption. Our adoption average is anywhere between 90 to 115.
Okay. So I've noticed in terms of where we're talking about adoptions and how you're talking about it, and you know how I feel the gut plays a very, very big, your instinct is something that you always rely on. And I have seen that in a few cases that I have, that I'm working towards, and those have been basically clients who have surrendered their dogs out, and you're looking at them in terms of certain families, you actually don't think it's going to work out, and they actually land up being the best families. Keeping that in mind, if you have to do, or supposing you land up in a situation where you have an animal and you're looking for the home for a person or for the animal.
What's to suppose? I have these situations every day, all the
I'm
time.
talking about another person. This is a situation that you have on a regular basis. So you know someone who's not dealt with it, and someone just sometimes lands themselves in a situation like that. What are the kind of protocols would you actually just say at the top of your head that they should follow?
Like for a do-it-yourself adoption, right? Yes. So when you have an animal that you have rescued, that you're looking to home, the first most basic and important steps that anyone will tell you is that you need to make sure the animal is healthy. You need to take it to a vet. You need to get a general checkup, a blood test if possible. The vet will, of course, vaccinate the animal. But what's important apart from that, when you take it to the local vet or the local vets, is also they may be able to identify where the animal is from very
Right.
often, if it so happens that, now like we said before, it's a large network, but it's also a small network.
Right.
You know, we have great success in terms of tracing animals the other way around. When people lose their animals, in terms of
Right.
finding them, you would know. You can find out, basically. There may be, the vet may also have the records. If not, it's important to vaccinate them, make sure they're healthy. Now, this being done, also when you do put the animal into foster, a lot of times the animals, you will notice, have behavioral issues. Abandoned animals, homeless animals, more so than homed animals. People abandon for reasons that are completely selfish. I'm sorry, but I don't, and we don't, and I don't think anyone should encourage pet surrender. You know, if someone is surrendering their pet, you know, people don't do this as frequently with their children, but it happens a lot with animals.
But
so
that's what I've also realized. The cases are far more now.
Right,
Of pet
surrendering.
Because somehow, I guess the option has come.
Yeah, it works both ways, no?
Because the option has come.
Correct.
And that is what, and like how
I'm
you
not
brought
sure
up.
whether it's that or whether it is less abandoning and more sort of trying to find home. In either case, I think that any challenge can be dealt with. If you have a pet, like you have any other family member, there are some problems and you figure it out. That's what you must do. You know, you don't adopt to find another home or rehome, or you adopt a pet like you adopt a child. The animal is supposed to be part of your life for the animal's entire life. You know, for whatever reasons, if you can't do that and you're looking to home your own animal, or you have rescued an animal that needs to be homed, as I was saying, you vet the animal. When you put the animal into foster, if there are issues with the animal that your foster is telling you about, or you have noticed, it is important that the animal sees a behaviorist. Most of our animals before adoption see a behaviorist if they have a behavior problem. That is, many of them have anxiety, many of them are very scared, some are even turn out to be aggressive because they feel so let down, they feel so upset that they are not with their master, that they don't know where to take out those energies or how to behave about it, or they are just simply so afraid and intimidated because they have never seen a world outside of those four walls that they call home and those four people that they call family or their pack,
Yeah, and this is a very important point that you brought out, that animals have same emotions as us. They are probably emoted differently, but they go through the same emotions like us. They feel loved, they feel the fear, they feel the anger, they feel the anxiety, they feel all of it.
Definitely, and in fact, people say that animals are voiceless. It's yes, they cannot speak English, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati like us. But really, if you try to listen, you will know what the animal is trying to communicate. They communicate very simple and impactful messages all the time.
Very true.
And apart from your vets, your behaviorists, when you do try to see, when you're trying to home an animal, if you have direct leads, great. If you do not have direct leads, what you're working on then is a photograph.
Right.
Or these days what's very popular is your GIFs, So yeah, so you need to then it is about packaging. That becomes a marketing tactic. You package well. You have a photo that's unusual amongst the 50 photos that were uploaded, or I would say 150 photos that were uploaded on that social media platform that day, you will get some responses. So you need to package well, you need to be creative in terms of your post. Then when you get inquiries, what you need to see is not just immediate but long term. I find it helpful when I know that a person, it gives me a lot of grounds when someone is a previous pet owner, you
Right.
know. Apart from knowing whether having some, well, one would think that a previous pet owner, what you get from them is the knowledge that, okay, they know how to keep an animal, they know how to keep that pet. You know, they've had that cat before, so they will be able to deal with this kitten. But no, not just that. Have they previously had a kitten that was so small? And even
Right.
if they did, you know, when their cat is now 16 years old and passed away, and now they're adopting a new kitten, it's been very long since they've taken care of an infant.
Agreed. Yes.
They need to be reminded and rebriefed, you know. Also, if you know that they had previous pets and you see a pattern where their pets don't survive for too long, or you know, they had all these animals but they gave them away or found other responsible homes, then maybe this is not the right direction for that animal. A lot of things can be seen with their previous. Check whether they have tested for, in many cases, or if they have a record of some kind of allergies, asthmas.
Right.
You know, that's important. While we have it as a very often as an excuse for abandoning, an excuse for return. Very often, in a case where it is true, it's a sad situation, but what can one do? So, you know, it also has to be a family decision. You cannot have 5 people in the family say that we are all happy with it, but you know, Papa is not so comfortable, but he'll get around it. Yes, he might get around it, but he might not also. You cannot leave a window open for chances, you know. Many people come to me saying, we want to try fostering, and if it works out, adopt. I say, by all means, go ahead and try. But don't do it with this mind frame. Because while you are trying to adjust, that puppy is also adjusting, or that kitten is adjusting, that cat or dog, everyone at home is adjusting. Any adjustment, any relationship, if you are trying and you say that I have a door to exit, you're going to get cold feet in the beginning. It may not work. Don't do it with the mind frame that, you know, it doesn't work out, so you know, we'll return the animal or we'll find another home. If you do it with the mind frame that this is our pet, and if we have challenges, we will address it or seek for help to address those challenges, that's when it will work out. If you're going to say that, oh, we'll try, and if it doesn't work out, trust me, it's not going to be, it's very rarely that it is as easy as, you know, a platter on the table.
Great. So it's never with
know?
your one foot out of the door. It's always with.
Yeah. Knowing fully well that if you are, you know, adopting from a credible organization, they will help you, not just that they will help you with the return, they will help you with every step, with every problem that you face. So what is the problem then?
Right.
You know? So these are, so that's in terms of you adopting yourself, but these are also lines and clues that you need to look into when you're getting an adoption done. Have address proof, have paperwork. If you cannot get an organizational form, have a written document, you know. And beyond giving the person the animal, see, when a person takes in an animal, also it is a responsibility, a lifetime responsibility. Like you have counseling for children, counseling for parents, you need to handhold them, at least as the person who has given them the animal, you know. Help them find the right resources or vendors in terms of veterinary, in terms of, you know, your pet products and stuff available around, their pet boarding facilities, which ones to go to, which ones not to go to, which ones can be recommended and not recommended. A lot of people want to adopt not for their houses but for their farms, and I've noticed a lot of rescuers saying, oh no, not the farm, because you know, I love Sonu and I can't go all the way to the farm to see Sonu enough. That is a little, I understand, we all understand that we all have our attachments, but we need to realize that if we are so attached that and we still cannot keep the animal with us in our home, that we need to be selfless enough to give the animal a good future wherever it is finding that, you know. So there are ways of doing farmhouse adoptions to make sure the fence is secure, to make sure that the animals are not running out, you know, by choice. You know, not running out cannot be that the animal is tied all the time or locked.
Got it.
Colony, society, you know, if every alternate society and every alternate corporate building in our city adopted a pair of animals, there would not be so many animals. There would hardly be any that don't have a place to go to.
Right.
So these things, there are ways to do. I mean, it would be a little detailed to get into each one of them, but there are.
Yeah.
And then another thing is, please understand that having money, having a big home is just one added benefit. It does not mean that the family is that much more able. If you see very often, if you go to a veterinary clinic or anywhere, you will notice that that it is the middle class people that come with their own pet. And there will be the established people also that are bringing their own pet. But many established pet owners have help for their pets. And when there is help, while some are very, very responsible, a lot of them are, again, it's a job. So who are you getting the animal adopted to? The house care or the, you know, we spoke some time ago about a dog, what was his name? We were speaking about a dog at your place.
Yeah, the one that we're looking at.
Yes.
Who's taking care of the caretaker.
Yeah, and the owner's not a problem here, but the caretaker's no more there. So where does the dog go? So, you know, it doesn't matter how much wealth a person has. An animal, if you're rehoming from you know, a slum to the Buckingham Palace, if they have a response, there are many chawl owners I know, chawl houses that have lovely pets and they keep them so well, you know.
Yeah, I mean, near my place, you're talking about that. Near my place, I see a Great Dane, and he's leading a great life. I mean, and a lot of times when these giant dogs are there and you're like, oh, space is a restriction, this is there. But the guy is healthy, he's having fun, he walks around, he comes back, he goes and sits right in the front of the house, he stares at all the cars and vehicles.
Now you take this dog and you put him in a more, say, in an environment that is superior in terms of more lavish, you know, better interiors, more space and all of that. He's not going to find that his territory and be happier soon. You know, what they want is their territory, their people. You know, it's not just the people that the animal miss, but they also miss their territory.
I want to move down to, you all do a lot of sterilization drives. And it has been in terms of a very important factor which has started to control the population of your indies on the streets. So tell me more about these sterilization drives and what are the factors that actually, how does one want, if they want to do a sterilization, how does one approach you?
Yes. So, Pooja, you know, it's not just that I believe, it's not just one of the important factors, but I would say that sterilization is the most important factor. See, we are dealing with homelessness. That in itself is a problem. And the only ethical, and if you ask me, the only ethical and legal way is to sterilize animals, to reduce the population, so that not only so that there are no more homeless animals, so that those animals also have a better life, you know. I mean, I don't want to get into the details, but everyone knows what happens when a female dog is on heat in the streets of Bombay. This is not, it's not nature, it's not natural anymore, while a lot of people say that. Because in a natural environment, there would not be cars on the street while they are being chased by a pack of males. There would not be, there would be places for them to deliver that are not gutters that have human sewage and waste in it. You know. So, if you know, and we do a lot of sterilization and you asked how to, I'll tell you what we do. We do around, our aim is to do 80 dogs and 100 cats a month. We do more cats, and we are, like I told you before, with how our organization started, and we started doing adoptions because there was no one doing it. This is the need of the hour kind of thing again with cat sterilizations. We noticed that for a very long time, till very recently, that we're thankful about, there was no government allocation of funds or any kind of help for cat sterilizations. The if I may say so, menace of cat reproduction was not something that was noticed, identified, or any solution for the problem.
Right.
Just recently has it started. While we have been doing cat sterilization for a few years now, I think we do the largest number in Maharashtra right now. And I mean, I would be very happy if others would match that or do more of that, because with cats especially, it's not dogs as well, but cats more so. The boundaries of humans being able to
encroach.
Cats can go onto roofs, cats can go into little things. It's very difficult to get them all. And when you're doing a sterilization drive, like you said, you concentrate on an area. You concentrate on an area and try to clean the area down and sterilize all the cats and all the dogs of that area. And say you think that that's okay, now it's been 4 months and there are no unsterilized animals, and the ones that were puppies are now grown up and adopted, but or also sterilized, and so are the kittens and XYZ, and the ones that were weak at the time are fed and also sterilized now, and it's all over. And you happily move on to the next colony, slum, street, or whatever it is, and you do not look back. There are going to be more animals littering. You have to do it on the constant. You have to comb the area constantly.
Right.
Because, as I said, animals are territorial. We buy a building, flat, and put fences around them. They have a different way of marking territory. And when animals are sterilized, they will occupy less territory. Not only by means of the fact that they will breed, they will not be breeding, so there won't be any more, but also they will be less, not as active, not venturing as much. So then new animals will come into this territory.
Right.
New animals, meaning animals from other territories, will try to. It's as simple. It's just like we have one home, but we also try to buy the holiday home. And it's as simple. They want more, they will try to establish more comfortable space. They are homeless. They are looking for space. What they call their home is the land that we refer to as the outside.
Right.
So they will try to find a place to stay,
Right.
It's just as simple as with human beings. If you say, oh, we found accommodation for all the homeless people on this street, but now there are more homeless people, and that is not surprising. It's the same way with animals. So you need to do it constantly. We concentrate on the suburbs in terms of cats and dogs. Currently, while you see, we do Andheri East, we do Parla, we do Goregaon, this belt of places, yeah. However, we also do calls from other areas. When we are called for a bunch of cats and a bunch of dogs, we will go in and do it. It has to be, we do not have the funding as an organization to do it absolutely free of cost pan Mumbai, unfortunately. Hopefully one day we will be there. But as of today, we can do certain areas, and the areas which are not our jurisdiction, we are still able to do if there are multiple animals at at cost price, so long as it is sponsored. So we do. We have recently, not recently, last year, the financial year, we did a lot in South Bombay.
Right.
We did CCI and a lot of clubs. So, all you have to do is pick up the phone and call. And in case we have a policy, when you call on a helpline number or you send there will never be an answer which is a flat no. if we cannot be there to assist in that manner, we will provide you with the right numbers, the right people to get in touch with, who will be able to do a better job in time in that area. So now, how do you sterilize, or how? It's as simple. You will contact your, if it's stray animals, contact your local NGOs. Sometimes you may know of animal activists in that area. They are connecting with NGOs or having a certain, a certain sort of setting with a vet where they do it at on a certain day at a price, at a reasonable rate, and they have somewhere to keep them for the post-operative facility and stuff like that. You can look at any avenue in your area. Just make sure it's done ethically. You know, that the stitches, very simple stuff, that the stitches are dry. When we pick up an animal for sterilization or for anything for that matter, we don't, as World for All, what we do is we don't just sterilize the animal. We do the anti-rabies. We do the 10-in-1 or the tri-cat vaccine. We also do a medical grooming for not only the interest of that animal, but also so that there's no spread of ticks and fleas to other animals. So we do this holistic package. Some people may be doing more, some people may be doing less, but as long as it's ethical, as long as you should find out that, and you should resource or get in touch with your local bodies who help in the situation in case you have unneutered animals. Now, how to know whether the animals are neutered or unneutered is a simple snip of ear that you will see on cats and dogs that are neutered. You know?
Yeah. It somehow looks like a C.
Yeah, it somehow looks like a C or a V, or you know,
whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
So,
my last question to you today would be, what do you feel is the actual need of the hour? The dire need of the hour?
see, like we said, there is more help, but there is also, like you correctly said, a lot of harm. I think that we in the day and age we live in, you know, there is anyway so much of brutality in this world, and then they are inferior species. As superior species, we need to protect them. I think what's very much needed is for an understanding, is for that awareness, where everyone knows, understands, and accepts that, okay, you may not like and may not want to do much for animals, you may not like them, you know, people have their personal choices. However, you don't harm them. If you can't help, don't harm, don't hurt, you know. Let them be. Let them be. If it's raining and they are taking, shelter at the corner of your lobby, or at, in your backyard somewhere, it is their right to shelter themselves, you know. I do not believe it is your right to shoo them out when situations are harsh outside, you know. Teach your children to be compassionate. You do not have to go and be feeding and hugging and playing with every animal on every nook and corner, or any animal at any nook and corner for that matter. But please do not harm. If you see an animal that is already suffering, please take the effort of making a simple phone call. There are multiple numbers. If you place a phone call, a lot of people tell me, oh, but I called and the helplines were off and I couldn't. It's very simple these days, like anything else works. Put out a message on your social media. I promise you someone will come and help. Just put out a message. If we know we can help. There is not one organization, one World for All. There are so many organizations, so many wonderful individuals doing wonderful work to help these animals. We need the support of one and all. We need the support in terms of your coexistence, you know, you tolerating them just the same as they are tolerating all of us, you know. And if you can just so much as point out, it would make a great difference. I think that is the need of the hour, where people don't turn a blind eye. because they cannot walk up to a hospital and treat themselves. They cannot, you know, they cannot help themselves like you can. We will be there to help them, but all you need to do is tell us. All you need to do is not cause more destruction for that animal that is already deprived, you know. So
it's about taking action. I think
about
it's time
taking
to take action, some form of action, whatever it is.
You know, for those who want to help and are listening to us here and feel like, oh, but I cannot adopt, oh, but I cannot foster, there is always something you can do, you know. You may be able to donate, you may be able to volunteer your time, you may be able to volunteer your skill.
True.
Or as I just said, if not any of these, 1,000 other ways, or you may be able to just pick up the phone and say, hey, you know what, I noticed some animals that are unsterilized. I noticed an animal that is injured. By doing that, by throwing light on that animal, you are contributing, you are helping in a bigger way than you would imagine. Because if you did not point out that animal, no one would have known. The animal does not pick up a phone and dial, you know, any kind of help.
True.
If you know, if you see, like the abuse you were talking about, sometimes there is brutality in your neighborhood, just pick up the phone and call the right people.
Right.
You can find on Just Dial all over the internet a gazillion numbers, a gazillion ways to help. Also, animal welfare, the PCA Act is part of our law. You know, if you don't know where to go with an animal that is being abused, just walk into the local police station. Contact an animal welfare officer if you're not sure what laws to go about and stuff like that. And it is not a choice here. It is not will it not. They have to be attended to.
Right.
So this is the need of the hour. It's needed that people come out there, and those that don't really want to do anything, at least notice and accept that these beings need to be protected and saved. If you can't do it, please, you know, enable others to. And for those who want to do it, please support them. You know, support them in whatever means you can. It is extremely, extremely expensive when you're taking care of multiple animals. As an individual, as an organization, you know, anyone who does it would understand what I'm talking about. We need all the help we can get. And when I'm saying expensive, yes, definitely financially, but I also mean in terms of man-hours and volunteering and everything like that. That is required.
Thank you, Taronish.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
so
much.
It was amazing being here as well. Thank you.
Thank you.